One day, while Adama was at the market buying food for her and Obiako, her husband, she overheard the market women whispering, "Look at Adama." One of them said, "She's been married for so long and still has no child. What a shame." Another one chimed in, "I heard she's cursed. That's why no child had come to her." Once upon a time, in the village of Onako in Nigeria, there lived a kind man named Obiako and his loving wife Adama. They had been married for many years and shared a deep love for each other. However, there was one thing missing in their lives that made them sad. They had no children. Adama would often sit by the window at night, looking up at the stars and praying to God. She would pray, "Dear God, please bless us with a child, even if it's just one. We will be forever grateful." Obiako would see his wife's tears and feel her pain. He would sit beside her, holding her hand and say, "Don't worry, my dear. God will answer our prayers when the time is right. We have each other, and that's what matters the most." Despite their love and support for each other, people in the village would sometimes say hurtful things. They would mock Obiako, saying he married a man as a wife because they had no children even after 5 years of marriage. One day, Obiako's friends came to visit. They said to him, "Obiako, why do you stay with Adama? You should marry another woman who can give you children. Otherwise, you will die without leaving a legacy behind." Obiako listened quietly to his friends, but remained steadfast in his love for Adama. He replied, "I married Adama because I love her, not just to have children. Our love is stronger than any mockery or doubt." Adama overheard their conversation and felt a mix of emotions: sadness for not having children yet, but also immense gratitude for a husband like Obiako who stood by her side no matter what. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over their home, Obiako held Adama close and whispered, "Our love will see us through, Adama. I believe that one day our prayers will be answered." And with those words of hope and love, Adama felt so relieved by her husband's words. As days turned into months, and the months into years, Adama's heart grew heavy with sadness. She longed for a child to fill their home with laughter and joy. But as time passed without her prayers being answered, her sadness deepened. The other women in the kingdom noticed Adama's sorrow and started mocking her. Whenever she walked down the road, went to fetch water at the stream, or visited the market, they would point at her and gossip. Their cruel words pierced Adama's heart, making her feel lonelier than ever. One day, while Adama was at the market buying food for her and Obiako, her husband, she overheard the market women whispering, "Look at Adama." One of them said, "She's been married for so long and still has no child. What a shame." Another one chimed in, "I heard she's cursed. That's why no child had come to her. I wouldn't want to be near her. Who knows what bad luck she carries." These words hurt Adama deeply. She felt like an outcast in her own village, a lonely woman with no friends to comfort her. Even her old friends had distanced themselves from her, afraid that her supposed cause might bring them misfortune. Adama returned home with a heavy heart, tears welling up in her eyes. Obiako noticed her sadness and asked gently, "What's wrong, my dear? Why do you look so troubled?" Adama wiped her tears and replied, "It's nothing, my husband. Just the usual gossip at the market. I'm tired of being mocked and pitied." Obiako hugged her tightly and said, "Don't listen to them, Adama. Their words don't define you. We will face this together, and one day our prayers will be answered." Despite Obiako's comforting words, Adama couldn't shake off the feeling of loneliness and despair. She wondered if her dreams of having a child would ever come true. One sunny day, Obiako's elder sister, Ego, decided to pay her brother a visit. She wanted to catch up with him and find out how things were going in his life and family. As Ego arrived at their home, Adama greeted her warmly, but Ego's demeanor was far from friendly. Ego, it's so good to see you, Adama said with a warm smile. But Ego's face twisted into anger as she looked at Adama. You, she exclaimed, her voice sharp with anger. You are nothing but trouble. You have a mission to destroy my brother and end our family's lineage. Adama was taken aback by Ego's harsh words. She tried to speak, but Ego continued, hurling insults at her and accusing her of being evil. You came into my brother's life to close his lineage with your barrenness, Ego accused, her eyes blazing with anger. Adama's eyes filled with tears as she listened to Ego's cruel words. She felt the weight of her childlessness crushing her spirit. Just then, Obiako entered the house, unaware of the tense atmosphere. He greeted his sister with warmth, hugging her and smiling. Welcome, Ego. It's been too long, Obiako said happily. Later that night, Ego called Obiako outside to talk. Adama, feeling anxious, decided to eavesdrop on their conversation. Ego spoke to her brother in a serious tone. Obiako, you know you are the only son in our family. You've waited long enough. It's time for you to marry another woman who can give you children. Adama has failed to fulfill her duties as a wife. Obiako was torn. He loved Adama deeply and had always stood by her, but he also felt the pressure to have children to carry on his family's name. I understand what you're saying, Ego, Obiako replied, his voice heavy with concern. I would think about it. Adama, who had been listening, rushed inside, tears streaming down her face. She felt like a failure, believing that she had let her husband down. That very night, after Ego's harsh words, Adama sat alone, sobbing quietly. Her heart ached with the pain of Ego's accusations and the fear of losing her place in her husband's life. Ego, still filled with anger, approached Adama and spoke coldly. Your days here are numbered, Adama. Get ready to leave because soon enough, my brother will marry a woman who can give our family children. With those cruel words, Ego turned and walked away, leaving Adama feeling even more lost and hopeless. Adama couldn't bear the weight of Ego's words any longer. She decided to confront her husband Obiako about what Ego had said. She found him sitting outside, deep in thought. Obiako, Adama said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. What did Ego discuss with you earlier? Why did she say such hurtful things to me? Obiako looked at Adama with a pained expression. He knew that Adama had overheard his conversation with Ego, but he couldn't bring himself to admit the truth. Instead, he lied to her, saying Ego was just checking on us and suggesting that we find ways to seek help and solutions. She cares about us, Adama. Adama's heart sank at Obiako's words. She felt a deep sense of betrayal, knowing that her husband had agreed with Ego's cruel intentions. Unknown to Obiako, Adama had heard everything he and Ego had discussed. She felt a mix of anger, hurt, and sadness. How could Obiako lie to her like this? As Adama sat alone, contemplating her next steps, she realized that her marriage was facing a crisis. She felt like she had failed not just as a wife, but also as a mother who couldn't bear children. And with the weight of lies and betrayal heavy on her heart, but Adama still believed that God will still answer her prayers in due time. After Ego returned to her husband's house in the neighboring village, Obiako's mind was filled with the words of her sister, family members, and friends about their childlessness. Each day, The weight of their comments grew heavier on his shoulders, and he began to consider the idea of marrying another wife. One day, Obiako's friend, Ogadi, paid him a visit from the city. Ogadi had heard about Obiako and Adama's struggles and suggested they visit a gynecologist who was an expert in such matters. He believed that the doctor could help them find a solution. But Obiako, tired and frustrated, refused. He explained to Ogadi that he had already spent a lot of money trying to have children, and nothing had worked so far. He confided in his friend, saying, "I have decided to take another wife. Maybe that will solve our problem." Ogadi, taken aback by Obiako's decision, tried to reason with him. "Obiako, getting another wife might not be the solution. The problem could also be from you as well. It's important to explore all possibilities before making such a drastic decision." Obiako's patience wore thin as he felt the weight of his friend's words. He lashed out in anger, shouting, "I am not the problem. I am a real man, and Adama is the one who can't bear children. I was blinded by love, but I can't pretend everything is okay anymore." Ogadi, seeing Obiako's frustration, tried to calm him down. "I'm just trying to help, Obiako. I care about you and your family. I want the best for you." But Obiako, unable to control his emotions, thanked Ogadi for his concern, but asked him to leave his house. He felt like everyone was against him, and he couldn't bear the weight of their opinions any longer. As Ogadi left, Obiako sat alone, feeling torn and conflicted. He loved Adama deeply, but the pressure to have children was tearing him apart. And with a heavy heart filled with anger and frustration, Obiako was already made up his mind to marry another wife. As days turned into weeks, Adama noticed a change in Obiako's behavior. He became easily angered over small things, grew distant, and always seemed too busy to talk to her. Adama felt confused and worried about their marriage. One night, unable to bear the distance between them any longer, Adama mustered the courage to confront Obiako. She found him sitting alone and asked, "Obiako, what's happening between us? Why have you been avoiding me and acting so cold towards me?" Obiako took a deep breath and looked at Adama with a mixture of sadness and determination. "Adama, I have something important to tell you," he said, his voice serious. Adama listened intently as Obiako spoke boldly. "I have decided to take another wife. I need a child to carry on our family name. And since you haven't been able to give me one, I have to consider other options." Adama's heart sank at Obiako's words. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "What about us, Obiako? What about our love and our marriage?" she asked, her voice trembling with emotion. Obiako's expression hardened as he replied, "It's up to you, Adama. You can choose to stay or leave, but I can't keep waiting for something that may never happen. We need children to fill our home and carry on our legacy." Adama felt as though her world was crumbling around her. She couldn't understand how Obiako could be so cold and distant, especially after all they had been through together. "Did you ever love me, Obiako?" Adama asked, tears streaming down her cheeks. Obiako's reply was blunt. "Love alone won't fill our home or give us children, Adama. We need to be practical and think about our future." Those words pierced Adama's heart like a sharp arrow. She felt broken and lost, unsure of what to do next. And with Adama's heart shattered by Obiako's decision, Adama felt she had lost everything and felt like the ground should open and swallow her. That night, she couldn't sleep. She cried all through, thinking of what to do next and a way to put back her family in order. She cried throughout that night and prayed that God should take control of everything concerning her marriage. Feeling suffocated, by the weight of her failing marriage. Adama decided to seek advice from Ogadi, her husband's friend, who had mentioned a gynecologist to them before. She felt that visiting the hospital would help her to understand if she truly had an issue that prevented her from having children, as her husband claimed. Ogadi, understanding Adama's distress, invited her to the city after a week. Together they went to visit the gynecologist for a series of tests. The gynecologist, a kind and gentle doctor, conducted thorough examinations on Adama. After many tests, he sat down with Adama and Ogadi to discuss the results. Adama, the doctor said with a reassuring smile, I have good news for you. There is nothing medically wrong with you. You are perfectly healthy and fit to have children. Adama's eyes widened in disbelief and relief. Really? But why haven't I been able to conceive then? She asked, still trying to process the information. The doctor explained patiently. Sometimes there are factors like stress, emotional strain, or even timing that can affect a woman's ability to conceive. It doesn't mean there is anything wrong with you physically. Adama felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She realized that she wasn't the cause of their childlessness as Obiako had believed. Leaving the hospital, Adama felt a glimmer of hope flicker in her heart. She knew that she needed to have a serious conversation with Obiako about what she had discovered. Back home, Adama sat down with Obiako and shared the doctor's findings. Obiako, I went to see the gynecologist and he said there is nothing wrong with me. I can have children, she said, her voice filled with a mix of hope and determination. Obiako's demeanor changed and he got so angry at his wife Adama. So I am the cause of our childlessness, right? Is that what you are trying to say? Obiako said in anger. I have made up my mind to marry another wife to have children for me. Adama looked at her husband, her heart heavy with the weight of their struggles. We can still have a family, Obiako. We can walk through this together, she said, reaching out to hold his hand. But Obiako angrily removed her hand with force. I don't think this marriage would work anymore, Adama. I don't trust those doctors. I am an only son and I need children to take after my name. And love can't do all that for us. Obiako sneered. With that, Obiako walked out of his wife in anger. Adama stood there, dumbfounded, and tears rolling down her cheeks. 2 days after Adama's visit to the gynecologist and the revelation that she was healthy and capable of having children, a shocking event unfolded in their household. Early one morning, Ego, Obiako's elder sister, arrived with a young beautiful lady named Owama. They entered the house and Owama woke Obiako and Adama from their sleep. Obiako, upon seeing his sister and the lady, appeared unworried and even welcomed Owama warmly with a hug and a smile. Adama, still unaware of what was happening, watched in confusion as her husband greeted the young lady with such affection. It wasn't until Ego spoke up that the truth was revealed. Adama, Ego said solemnly, meet Owama, she's your husband's new wife. They are already married. Adama's heart stopped as the words sank in. She felt betrayed and devastated by the news. Tears welled up in her eyes as she turned to Obiako, asking why he had betrayed her in such a manner. Obiako, avoiding Adama's gaze, remained silent. It was clear that he had gone through with the marriage without informing Adama, causing her immense pain and confusion. Ego, seeing Adama's distress, spoke harshly. If you can't deal with it, Adama, you are free to leave. You are of no use to our family anyway. Feeling overwhelmed and heartbroken, Adama ran to her room and burst into tears. She couldn't understand why Obiako had chosen to marry another woman without discussing it with her first. She felt like her world had shattered into pieces. As Adama sobbed in her room, the weight of betrayal and loss weighed heavily on her shoulders. She didn't know what to do or where to turn. The pain of Obiako's actions cut deep, leaving her feeling abandoned and alone. That evening, Ego proudly showed Owama around the house, pointing out everything and declaring that it would all belong to her and her future children. Adama, who overheard Ego's words, felt a wave of bitterness wash over her. She retreated to her room, unable to bear the pain of seeing her husband's house being handed over to another woman. Meanwhile, Owama prepared dinner for Obiako and Ego. The three of them sat together, laughing loudly and enjoying their time. Adama from her room felt heartbroken seeing Obiako treat Owama with such affection while disregarding her feelings. Late at night, when she saw Obiako sitting outside, Adama gathered the courage to confront him. She sat beside him, but Obiako's reaction was cold and harsh. He frowned and asked her what she wanted. Tears streaming down her cheeks, Adama asked Obiako if he no longer wanted their marriage. His response was filled with anger and bitterness. "Isn't it obvious?" he snapped. "You are useless to me and my family. Uwama will give me children that you couldn't." Adama's heart shattered at his words, but she found strength in her pain. She told Obiako that she would leave in the morning and ask him to go take back the bride price from her father. She couldn't bear to stay in a marriage where she was no longer wanted and disrespected. The next morning, Adama packed her belongings and prepared to leave. Obiako, realizing the gravity of his actions, tried to stop her, but Adama was determined. She walked out of the house, leaving behind the life she had known with Obiako. As Adama walked away, she felt a mix of sadness and relief. She knew that starting afresh would be difficult, but she also knew that staying in a loveless and disrespectful marriage would only bring more pain. Adama returned to her father's house that morning, her heart heavy with the pain of her broken marriage. As she entered her home, her parents welcomed her with open arms, showering her with love and acceptance. They sat her down and spoke words of encouragement, telling her to trust in God's plan and reminding her of her worth. Despite the sorrow in her heart, Adama decided to be strong and start afresh. She resolved to take care of herself and make the best out of her life, believing that the right man would come along at the right time. After a few days, Adama made the decision to travel to the city of Asaba and stay with her aunt for a while to find solace and peace. Her aunt welcomed her warmly, providing a comforting place for Adama to rest and heal. 3 months passed, and during her time in Asaba, Adama crossed paths with Iwuchukwu, a well-known businessman at the main market in Onitsha. Iwuchukwu took an interest in Adama and expressed his intentions to her uncle and auntie. After several conversations and outings together, Adama felt a connection with Iwuchukwu and accepted his proposal of marriage. Before proceeding, Adama made sure to confirm with her parents that Obiako had collected his bride price, signifying the end of their marriage. With everything in place, a grand celebration was organized for Adama and Iwuchukwu's traditional marriage. Adama moved in with her new husband in the bustling city of Asaba, feeling a sense of hope and excitement for her future. 2 weeks into their marriage, Adama received the joyous news that she was pregnant. 9 months later, Adama gave birth to two beautiful babies, a twin boy and a girl. The happiness and gratitude in Adama and Iwuchukwu's hearts knew no bounds as they thanked God for blessing them and their marriage with the precious gifts of children. And so, with the birth of their twins marking a new chapter filled with love, joy, and happiness. After more than 2 years of marriage to Wama, Obiako and his new wife still hadn't been able to have children. This weighed heavily on Obiako's mind, causing him great worry and frustration. One day, he ran into his friend Ogadi, whom he had distanced himself from in the past. After exchanging pleasantries, Obiako learned a shocking truth: Adama was married and had two babies, a boy and a girl. Obiako was taken aback by the news, his smile masking his inner turmoil. Ogade, sensing his friend's sadness, advised him to seek medical help, suggesting that the problem might lie with Obiako himself. Reluctantly, Obiako agreed to visit the hospital but couldn't shake off the unease in his heart. Upon returning home, Obiako found Owama and his sister Ego engaged in a heated argument. Owama expressed her frustration, blaming Ego for manipulating Obiako into marrying her, and yet their problems persisted. She demanded that Ego leave them alone to deal with their issues and urged Obiako to stand up for himself and their marriage. Owama's words hit Obiako hard. He realized that he had allowed others to control his life and make decisions for him, leading to his current troubles. Owama left, leaving Obiako torn between regret and determination to make things right. That night, Obiako confronted Ego. Unleashing his pent-up frustrations, he blamed her for his misfortunes, refusing to let her dictate his life any longer. Ego, taken aback by Obiako's outburst, tried to defend herself, but Obiako was resolute in his decision to take charge of his life. Feeling overwhelmed with emotions, Obiako reached out to Ogade once again. Together, they went to the hospital, where it was revealed that Obiako was indeed the problem. This realization shattered Obiako, and he broke down in tears, feeling the weight of his foolishness and ignorance. Returning home that day, Obiako sobbed throughout the night, reflecting on his life and the mistakes he had made. He realized that he needed to start afresh, to make amends and take responsibility for his actions. And so, Obiako was left alone as a single man again, his journey filled with lessons of humility, self-awareness, and the importance of facing reality. Obiako sat alone in front of his house, surrounded by memories of his past mistakes. He had learned valuable lessons about love, marriage, and responsibility. With tears in his eyes, he thought about Adama, his first wife, and the twins they had never had together. He realized how he had let societal pressures and family influences cloud his judgment. Meanwhile, Adama was living happily in the city of Asaba with her husband, Iwuchukwu, and their twins. She had found love, acceptance, and fulfillment in her new life. Adama often thought about Obiako, hoping that he had found peace and learned from his past actions. One day, as Obiako was sitting outside his house, lost in thought, he heard footsteps approaching. It was Ogade, his old friend, who had stood by him through thick and thin. Ogade had come to check on Obiako, knowing the turmoil he had been through. Obiako, my friend, how are you doing? Ogade asked, concern evident in his voice. Obiako looked up, wiping his tears. I'm trying to make amends and start afresh. Ogadi, I've realized my mistakes and I want to do better. Ogadi nodded, patting Obiako on the shoulder. It's never too late to make things right. Take one step at a time and remember that you are not alone in this journey. With Ogadi's encouragement, Obiako began to rebuild his life. He focused on improving himself, seeking forgiveness from those he had hurt, and learning from his past experiences. Months passed, and Obiako's house transformed into a symbol of renewal. He planted a small garden, tended to it by his own hands, symbolizing growth and new beginnings. People in the village noticed the change in Obiako and admired his determination to change for the better. One day, a messenger arrived at Obiako's house, delivering a letter from Adama. She had heard about Obiako's effort to change and wanted to express her support and forgiveness. Adama wrote about her happiness with Iwuchukwu and their growing family, sending her best wishes to Obiako for his future. Touched by Adama's words, Obiako felt a sense of closure and gratitude. He replied to the letter, thanking Adama for her forgiveness and wishing her continued happiness. As the sun set on another day, Obiako sat in his room, feeling at peace with himself and the world. He had learned that true happiness comes from within, from being true to oneself and making amends for past mistakes. Obiako's journey had been challenging, but it had also taught him valuable lessons about love, forgiveness, and the power of second chances. And so, with a heart full of hope and gratitude, Obiako embraced his new beginning, ready to face the future with courage and determination. So the story ends with Obiako's resolve to make things right and embark on a new chapter in his life. The most important lesson in this story of Obiako and Adama is that in marriage, both husband and wife should work together to find solutions, especially when facing challenges like childbearing. It's not fair to assume that only women have problems with having children. Men can also face difficulties. Communication, understanding, and support are crucial in overcoming such obstacles as a team. Another important lesson is that making hasty decisions based on societal pressure or family influence can lead to regret and unhappiness. It's essential to take time to assess the situation, seek professional help if needed, and make informed choices for the well being of everyone involved. Additionally, the story highlights the importance of standing up for oneself and not letting others dictate one's life choices. It's okay to seek advice and support, but ultimately, individuals should take ownership of their decisions and strive to create a positive and fulfilling life. And also sometimes we are left with the lesson that sometimes letting go is the bravest and wisest choice, even in the face of heartbreak and uncertainty. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonder, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, share, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.